You are listening to the Your Empty Nest Coach podcast. Christine? Yes, Christine? You know, with the social distancing implemented due to COVID-19, that your listeners may not be in an empty nest right now, and they may be struggling with an unexpected full nest. I mean, listen to that racket in the kitchen. Ooh, you're right about that. You are listening to the Not So Empty Nest podcast with Coach Christine. Is that better? I think at least for the near future, it might be a good call. Sounds like a plan. Before we get started, please remember that you may leave me audio feedback at any time through my SpeakPipe link or Google Voice number. If you find yourself talking back to me during the episode, I invite you to submit your thoughts there. You'll find the links to do this in the description of the episode. On Apple Podcasts, click Details. On Spotify, click See More. On Overcast, press the I for Information button. Get the idea? Of course, I always have full show notes with links to anything I discuss in this episode and a full episode transcription on my website. Those reside at youremptynestcoach.com/P for podcast and 77 for this episode. I can't wait to hear from you. Hello, my incredible listener. How are your thoughts doing? I know you are working on training up your protector, right? We've been given an amazing opportunity to do that after all. Today, I welcome the energetic and passionate Tammy Collins to the show. I've had the honor of getting to know Tammy over on LinkedIn, where she shares fantastic tips for your brand. Tammy is a woman like you who overcame adversity and smashed challenges, mostly self-inflicted, she claims, to achieve six-figure success in just a few months. She has an extensive background, including awards, degrees, and certificates. She went from being a lost and confused serial entrepreneur to marketing director. It was then she realized her passion in how to help entrepreneurs. She's helped universities, colleges, nonprofits, builders, interior designers, real estate professionals, and many other professions in various industries. I know Tammy is a multi-passionate human like me, and I like to think that's why I'm drawn to her. She's here to talk about her COVID-19 social distancing experience so far. Thanks for being here, Tammy.
Oh, thanks for having me, Christine. It's a real pleasure. I'm a big fan of your show.
Oh, likewise. I'm going to fangirl over this. So, Tammy, tell me what your family is experiencing due to COVID-19.
You know, it feels a bit like a twilight zone. So for us, this time of year is about sports. I have two young men, I should say now. One is recently graduated from college and the other one is in his senior year of college, and he is pursuing a professional career in baseball. And so it's baseball season and it's spring break, which means we head to Florida every year this time for all of the wonderful baseball games that will take place. So the day before we left for spring break, there was a moment of, are we even going to have this week? The school decided to continue with the week. And so we headed off to Florida despite what was happening around us. I'm really glad that we did it because as it turns out, as most of your listeners know, most, if not all, colleges and schools have basically closed. So my son has lost his entire senior year and lost his last season as a baseball player for college. So as it turned out, the week was very poetic, and at least the boys had that time together to at least play some games. So it was extremely emotional and very difficult, all while being stuck in another town. So it was very odd. And then we sort of were faced with, we have to get home. And then it became, the problem was growing globally and within the United States, and it was becoming more and more of a threat. So then we started to really are we getting home? Are we going to be able to get home? And all the good things. So that was our sort of welcome to the problem. And my youngest, he is still at school. He filed for a petition to stay there. And he actually was tested for COVID the other day.
Is that part of the petition?
No, I'm sorry. He petitioned to stay at school. He had another chance. He had to finish his internship and a couple other things. And while he was there, he got a fever and he had to go down and get tested for whether or not he has
Got
the
it. Understood.
coronavirus.
So everyone, the rest of you are home?
He's at school still, but my other son and my husband and I are here.
Got it. And I'm sorry for the loss in sports. That's huge, especially that year, because that's a big identity shift. Even if you're still playing the sport and going into pros, that's just a big shift to happen suddenly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was quite devastating. I mean, they had scouts lined up to come see him and everything. I mean, he's very talented, and so all that's been put on hold. So it's very unsettling.
yeah. Well, I'm sending you good thoughts.
Honestly, I believe everything happens for a reason, and we can't see it right now, but there are some blessings there. The NCAA has extended eligibility, so he does have the opportunity to play again next year. So I don't know what all that means, but everything happens for a reason. So we're going to focus on that.
It is true. It is true. And we can always find positives in everything. So, wow. Okay. So is it you and your husband, do you work at home or?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm virtual. I have a lot of clients that I meet in person, but my business is virtually based, and it really hasn't affected me too much.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I've actually had an uptick in calls being scheduled and people reaching out to me. So that was a pleasant surprise. But on the other hand, now my husband works in retail, and in that environment, he is forced to. They've increased hours, and it's unpleasant, because he's put at risk every day.
Yes. Well, I appreciate him working. I
Yeah.
appreciate all the retail workers. I just can't even imagine right now. And especially, I'm sure everyone's super pleasant that comes into the the establishment, right?
Right. That's the other thing. I mean, when someone's standing there sort of screaming at you because even despite the fact that you had more toilet paper than humanly possible because it's a warehouse club and you're out and they're sort of screaming at you, it's really kind of inappropriate and unneeded stress on someone who's already being put in a stressful situation. It's just, we live a little bit different life when it comes to the retail environment. We have a different view.
Got it. So what would you say, what day of social distancing, as I'm calling it, are you in? Are you in like day 3 or 4 that you're all home, or most of you?
Yeah, today is Thursday. I feel like for us it started on Sunday because we were in Florida. We didn't get home from Florida until Saturday night. And then so Sunday is sort of the first day of I actually had to run to the store because before I leave on vacation, I clean out all my, perishables and all that. So I had to actually go shopping on Sundays. So day 4, I guess.
Awesome. But you found things at the store in
Actually,
your
yes.
area?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so I'm asking my Insta family to share their social distancing daily check ins, and I would love for you to share yours with us today. Are you willing?
Oh, of course.
Awesome. So, okay, for today specifically, tell me something that you have
Well, today was really a challenging day for me. I experienced a ton of strange problems. So this is a kind of a strange answer, but today what I love is that I'm already in a virtual business, right? So I really appreciated that today because it was very easy. I did have a client meeting set up for tomorrow, but we can easily just do a Zoom. It doesn't really affect what I'm doing. So I was very thankful and loving that I had already built a virtual business.
That's fantastic. And I understand that very well.
Yeah.
That's good. So, something that you have found surprising.
Something that I found surprising was when I got the text message that said, Mom, I have a fever.
Mm,
And I said, well, you have to immediately go to the infirmary because most likely need to be tested, only because he had been traveling and, of course, is now considered high risk.
yes.
So
So, is there something you found funny today?
something I found funny today, yes, actually, just before this call, my older son is home. He also works from home, and he was playing video games, and I had to run upstairs and tell him to keep it down because they get very loud when they play video games and they're other players are trying to survive, it's very loud. So I had to say, you have to keep it down here. I'm going to be on the podcast.
That's great. It is part of social distancing is there is a lot more background noise on podcasts right now.
Right? Exactly.
There are actually a lot of podcasters that, they usually record when their kids are in school or no one's home. And there are a lot of threads of, I don't know what to do. And actually, a lot of them go into the car. Fun
Yeah, yeah,
fact.
yeah.
Fun fact.
Well, right. It's kind of a sound cubicle. Yeah.
Right.
And then the other thing I found funny today, which is, a little silly, but I found myself watching a video on building a yurt on lots of land as a sort of Calgon take me away moment.
That sounds lovely. It's always been my dream.
Yeah.
That's great. And how about something that like right now you just feel like you could use help with?
I'm typically the person that's thrust into the leadership role, and people tend to always come to me for answers. And, I think this is why I was struggling today, because I was finding myself sort of not feeling like that 100% rock that had all the answers. And I was feeling overwhelmed and stressed. And so I think the one thing I need the most help with right now is some support, I guess, that, camaraderie and, ability to talk to somebody else that understands the position that I'm in and is in a similar position and can share, and we can sort of commiserate and laugh together.
Absolutely. Everybody needs that.
Yeah.
And do you find, are you getting less time to yourself to maybe process things, or
Yeah.
is it pretty much the same?
No, for sure. That's definitely happening. And it's not even in full force yet because my other son isn't even home yet.
Right.
Which I think a girlfriend is coming in tow too. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes. So listeners, I think as Tammy's talking and my brain's going, I'm just thinking, I know my last episode we were talking about the importance of routines for your college students coming home and the patience everybody needs with each other, because none of us have the routine we had 2 weeks ago, and we're all in different spaces, but really having the strength to say to each other, I need 2 hours to myself so I can be a better human.
Well, it's funny because one of the ways I used to get that was to go to the gym, and I can't even do that now.
I know. Yeah.
So.
There's a lot of energy that we all have stuck in the house.
Yeah.
I have a hula hoop. My daughter's using Just Dance YouTube videos. My husband's a runner though, so like, what? I think
I've got a big tire in the backyard. I have been known to go flip the tire a little bit. So
that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
So right now, I mean, you kind of answered this, but are you feeling, I like to say, your protector's in charge where you're not peaceful at all and they're in control, versus the CEO of your life where you're extremely peaceful? Where are you feeling right now?
Typically, I'm the CEO of my life. I have a very regimented schedule. I do a sort of a level 10 life. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's sort of where you take the buckets of your life that you want to focus on. You rate them in a scale of 1 to 10, and the areas that aren't strong, you build a plan to focus on improving those. So I'm typically very much in that sort of CEO of your life. Right now, I'm having waves and basically days where I'm not feeling that. So it's very unsettling for me because I'm not comfortable in that zone.
Yeah.
And it throws me off a bit. So I'm sort of, one day I'm good, the next day I'm not, the next 2 days I'm good, the next day I'm not. So I'm sort of learning to balance that, I guess, is the best.
Yeah. And I think this is important for other people to hear, because we're not going to feel perfectly in control the whole time. And it's totally okay. Be kind to yourself when you're not feeling in control. I think that's really the key, is make sure that when you're feeling a little lost, I like to say you're in the simmer. You're going to go up and down. You're going to find it. You're going to find your groove eventually, but you have to simmer to get there. So you're going to have your good moments and your bad. They're all important. So being appreciative of even the moments when you're not in control is really important.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I had to actually teach myself to sort of forgive myself for I wasn't perfect today and I don't have the answers
Mm-hmm.
today, but that's okay. And that took me a long time to really learn to do
Yeah.
that.
Most of it, I wish we were taught it when we were like 5 or 6, because I think this world would be a totally different place. I think it is life changing when you start to just be kind to yourself and love yourself the way it's just the kindness that you want to treat to others to do to yourself, and your thoughts is so impactful.
Yeah, great point.
Well, thanks for sharing all of that. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
And I know there are people that need to hear this. So it's nice to know that we're not going through what we're feeling alone. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
absolutely.
And I invite you now to share anything with my listeners, a quote, something you love, a life lesson, or a message. So do you have anything you'd like to say to them?
Ooh, well, I think my big thing that I really have learned to be powerful, which actually my kids really taught me this, was that I've always been a big proponent of go after your dream, chase your passion at all costs. It's actually ironically part of what I do. It's part of my superpower, which all came about in a very strange way. I mean, what I do is basically help people to hone in on what their superpower is, but more importantly, how they're able to turn what that superpower is into a product that they can sell, and then to be able to actually sell it. And it's ironic because that's the process that I went through, and it took me a long time to figure out how to sell my passion. And that's a big part of what I do. So my message really is that you really can't let anybody tell you that you cannot go after your dream or your passion. You must pursue it at all costs, because if you are not, you are dying a little bit every day.
I am all in. Absolutely. It's great that you help uncover that, because that's what I think. I know when I work with my clients, a lot of the times they have no clue who they are underneath everything.
Right,
So a lot of that discovery. And then by the time you discover it, it might not be who you thought you were going to be.
right,
Like you have this
right,
dream and then you're like, oh, wait, but
right,
it's really interesting where you land. But knowing that so strongly that because people will tell you you shouldn't pursue it, tell you that that's not a great idea. You need to know so strongly that that's what you're meant to do. And to have somebody to guide you through that is amazing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I lived in fear and self doubt. I had poor ideologies. I suffered from imposter syndrome, all of that for years.
Hmm.
And I realized that, I needed to make a change there. And for me, that meant going back to school. So I went back to school full time while being a full time mom. I was getting two kids into college at the same time. I was working as a full time marketing director. I was running a business, all of that at the same time. And I just, most of our problems are self inflicted. And even in a case for like right now, when we're at the mercy of a pandemic, our fear is really our choice.
Absolutely.
So, right. So
It
you're
is.
making your own choice. So you're in control of that to a certain degree. And that's a big part of my message.
Yes. Yes. Say amen. I'm like, right on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. This is great. So, somebody hears that and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to work with Tammy. What's the best way for them to reach you?
It's interesting. Given my expertise, of course, I'm on all of the social platforms. I'm more active on some than others, but of course, you can find me on LinkedIn, and that is you would use my full name, which is Tammy Lynn Collins, or you can. Another great place to really get into some of my material and some of the things that I do for free that I just give to people. It would be on my Facebook business page, which is TL Collins, Collins.
Wonderful.
And from there, you can certainly find I have a membership group and a couple other things that can take it a step further. But that's a great free resource where you can come. There's all kinds of instructional videos and just all kinds of great things in the Facebook group.
Great. And of course, listener, you know that I will have those links in the show notes of this episode. So thanks for being here today, Tammy. I appreciate your time, especially with everything that we have going on.
Oh, I thank you for having me. I love to talk about anything that helps another person for sure.
And to my listener, we both want to tell you that you are amazing. Thanks. Thank you. A huge shout out to every member of my GPS support flock. I invite you to fly on over to my website or see my show notes for a link to learn how you may become a GPS support flock member, where you will gain access to all of my programs, monthly workshops, group coaching, and more. See you there. Awesome. That's a wrap.